Ryland stood in the cold hallway of the Earth Alliance Security Division, waiting for his orders. He had been a soldier once trained, tested, and hardened by years of conflict on Mars and the outer colonies. But this was different. He was now a bodyguard, and the person he was supposed to protect wasn't even human. The door in front of him opened with a soft hiss. Commander Voss waved him in. "Ryland," the older man said, voice calm and steady. "You've been selected for a very specific assignment." "High priority," Ryland raised an eyebrow. "Another diplomat?" "No, not just any diplomat." Voss pressed a button on the desk. A hologram appeared above it, showing a tall woman with pale bluish-purple skin, silver white hair, and small elven-like ears. "Her name is Solari. She's from the Illyrian people." Ryland leaned forward slightly, studying her face. She didn't look dangerous. In fact, her soft expression and graceful posture made her seem peaceful. But the commander's face told a different story. "She's been targeted twice in the last week," Voss said. "Someone wants her gone. We believe it's related to her role in the upcoming Galactic Peace Summit." "She's important, Ryland. Too important to lose." "And I'm supposed to protect her?" Ryland asked. Voss nodded. "You'll be by her side at all times. She's being moved to a private residence, away from the public." "You'll live there too," Ryland didn't argue. Orders were orders. But something in his chest stirred an uneasy feeling. He'd guarded officials before, even some alien representatives. But something about this assignment felt different. Later that evening, Ryland arrived at the secured residence. It was located outside the main city, hidden among tall trees and protected by a layered energy shield. As he entered the house, the lights responded to his presence, and a soft chime welcomed him in. She was already waiting. Solari stood near the window, looking out at the quiet night. She turned slowly, her long silver hair flowing like water, and her violet eyes met his. "You're the human they've assigned to protect me," she said softly. Her voice was calm, almost musical. Ryland gave a short nod. "Yes, I'm Ryland. I'm here to keep you safe." She looked him over, not with judgment, but curiosity. "They say humans don't trust easily. And aliens do?" He replied without thinking. A small smile touched her lips. "Some do." She walked past him and gestured toward the kitchen area. "Would you like some tea?" "I prepared something from your planet." Ryland blinked. This was definitely not what he expected from a high-priority alien guest. "I'm fine, thank you," he said, standing at attention. Solari poured herself a cup and sat down, her eyes studying him once again. "You're tense." "I'm doing my job." She didn't argue. "I understand. But if we are to live under the same roof, perhaps we can be less formal. Just a little." He didn't answer, but he didn't disagree either. That night, Ryland checked every entrance, scanned every room, and activated the silent alarm system. His sleeping quarters were just across from hers, a security precaution. The hallway between them felt like a border one he didn't plan to cross. As he lay in bed, unable to sleep, his thoughts kept returning to her face. Not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she seemed lonely, like someone who had seen too much but couldn't say it out loud. He turned over and tried to clear his mind, but just as his eyes began to close, there was a soft knock at his door. He sat up quickly. "Yes?" The door opened slightly, and Solari stood there in a simple, long robe, her silver hair tied back. "I couldn't sleep," she said gently. "May I come in for a moment?" He hesitated. "Is something wrong?" "No," she replied. "But silence can be loud when your thoughts are heavy." He didn't know how to respond to that. After a short pause, he nodded. "All right." She stepped inside, looking around the plain room. "It's simple, like a soldier's quarters." "I used to be one." "I know," she said, sitting carefully on the edge of a chair. "I read your file." Ryland folded his arms. "So what do you want from me?" She looked up at him. "Nothing. I just feel safer when you're close." The word surprised him. She didn't say it in a romantic way. It was sincere, maybe even a little afraid. "You're safe here," he said. "I'll make sure of it." She stood and walked to the door, but stopped. "Good night, Ryland. Good night." As the door closed behind her, Rylan sat in silence, the weight of his new duty settling deeper in his chest, and for the first time in a long while, he felt that this person might change. Everything. The next morning, Rylan woke to the soft hum of the security system. He rubbed his eyes and glanced toward Solari's room across the hall. It was quiet, too quiet. He wondered if she was awake yet. After a quick breakfast, Rylan checked the perimeter again. Everything was as it should be, but something about the house felt different today, like the air held a secret. He walked toward the main living room, where Scifi was already waiting. She stood by the window, watching the trees sway gently in the breeze. "Good morning," Rylan said, trying to sound calm. Scifi turned and smiled softly. "Good morning, Rylan." Her voice still held that gentle, musical tone. It made the room feel less cold. Rylan took a seat across from her. "How are you feeling?" "Better," she said, "but the attacks have made me cautious." "I do not know whom to trust," Rylan nodded. "That is why I'm here." "To protect you from harm?" She looked at him thoughtfully. "You are more than a guard. You seem different from others." He raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" "More calm. More steady. And you listen." Rylan felt a small smile. "I try." They sat in silence for a moment, then Scifi spoke again. "What do humans fear most?" Rylan blinked, surprised by the question. "I guess losing what they care about." "And what do they protect?" "With all their strength?" "The same thing. Family, friends, life." Solari's eyes softened. "Then we are not so different, you and I." Rylan looked out the window beside her. For the first time he saw her not as an alien to protect, but as someone who shared fears and hopes like him. Days passed and the bond between them grew quietly. Rylan's duty required him to be close, always watching, always alert. But sometimes when the danger felt far, they talked. Not about politics or battles, but about small things. Favorite foods, old stories, simple dreams. One evening, Scifi asked Rylan to teach her something from Earth. "Show me your ways," she said with a shy smile. Rylan thought for a moment, and then nodded. "All right, let's start with something simple." He pulled out a deck of playing cards he kept for rare breaks. "This is poker. It's a game of chance and skill." She studied the cards carefully, her fingers moving delicately. "It is strange, but fun." They laughed together as he explained the rules. For a few hours, the weight of the world seemed to lift from their shoulders, but the peace was fragile. One night, Rylan woke to a faint noise outside the house. He grabbed his weapon and moved silently through the halls. His training guided him. Every shadow, every sound was a potential threat. He found Scifi standing by the main door, her eyes wide. "They tried again," she whispered. Before Rylan could react, the security alarms blared. Lights flashed red. Someone was trying to break. Rylan positioned himself between Scifi and the door. Ready to face whoever came, a group of masked figures burst in, weapons raised. Rylan fired precise shots, forcing them to retreat. One attacker tried to get past him, but Rylan tackled him to the floor. Scifi watched, heart pounding, but she did not move away. When the attackers fled, Rylan quickly secured the door. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded, but her hands trembled. "Thank you," she said softly. "You saved my life." Rylan felt a warmth inside. Protecting her was more than a job now. It was personal. That night, after the chaos died down, Scifi asked if she could speak to Rylan alone. In the quiet of his room. She looked at him with a new seriousness. "You risked yourself for me." "Why?" Rylan met her gaze. "Because it's my duty." She shook her head gently. "No, it is more than that. I feel it," he sighed. "Maybe I do too, but I don't know how to say it." She smiled faintly. "Sometimes words are not needed." Slowly, she reached out and touched his hand. The contact was brief but full of meaning. Rylan's heart raced. For the first time, he saw Scifi not just as an alien or a mission, but as someone who trusted him. In the days that followed, they grew closer. Rylan found himself watching her. When she wasn't looking, admiring the way she moved, the softness in her eyes. Scifi, too, seemed more relaxed, letting down walls he hadn't known existed. One afternoon, as they trained in self-defense, Scifi laughed at one of Rylan's jokes. The sound was bright and real, a stark contrast to the danger surrounding them. "You have changed my view of humans," she said, smiling. "And you've changed mine about aliens," he replied. Their moments were small but powerful. Each glance, each word built a bridge between two worlds, but Rylan knew that their time together was fragile. The threat was real and close. Someone wanted Solari gone, and that meant he could lose her at any moment. Still, in this brief peace, the guard and the alien diplomat found something neither expected, a connection that went beyond duty or fear, and both wondered quietly if it could become something more. The days after the attack were tense. The security around the house was tighter. New guards arrived, new systems were installed. But Rylan noticed something unsettling. Some of the new faces did not seem trustworthy. They moved too quietly, their eyes scanning more than just the... Outside, Solari watched this too, her violet eyes sharp and alert. One evening, as they sat in the living room, she said quietly, "There is danger not only from outside, but also within." Rylan frowned. "You think there is a spy?" She nodded. "Someone who wants to harm me and will do anything to stop my mission." Rylan clenched his fists. "I will find out who it is." "No one will hurt you," Solari smiled softly. "I believe you." That night, Rylan stayed awake, watching the halls. His mind ran through all possibilities. Who could betray them? Who would risk so much to see her fail? Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out. The house was plunged into darkness. Rylan's hand went to his sidearm. He heard footsteps, quiet, careful. He moved quickly toward the sound. In the dark hallway, he caught a shadow trying to slip past his room. "Stop!" Rylan shouted. The figure froze, then turned a familiar face. One of the new security officers. "What are you doing?" Rylan demanded. The man hesitated, then lunged toward Rylan with a hidden knife. Rylan dodged and tackled him to the floor. The knife clattered away. "Why?" Rylan asked, pinning the man's hands. The officer's eyes were cold. "She cannot be allowed to live. The peace she offers is a threat." Rylan called for backup and secured the man. He knew then the danger was closer than he thought. The next day, Solari looked at Rylan with gratitude and concern. "You saved me again," she said. "But now we know the enemy is inside." Rylan nodded. "We have to be careful. I won't let anything happen to you." She touched his arm lightly. "I trust you more than anyone else." Their hands stayed close for a moment. Neither moved away as the days passed. Solari began to open up more to Rylan. She told him about her home world, the forests of Alaris, the ancient trees, and the songs her people sang to the stars. Rylan listened with fascination. He had never imagined an alien could feel so connected to nature. "I miss it," she said softly. "But my duty here is important. The galaxy needs peace." Rylan felt a new respect for her. Not just a diplomat, but a protector of hope. One afternoon, while walking near the house's garden, Solari stopped and looked at Rylan. "Tell me about your family," she asked. He hesitated, then said, "I don't have much family left. War took many of them." She nodded gently. "I too have lost much. War has no winners, only pain." They stood silently, sharing the weight of their pasts. That evening, Rylan found Solari sitting alone in the room, eyes closed. Breathing slowly, he approached quietly. "You're thinking about your home?" he asked softly. She opened her eyes and smiled. "Yes, and about what it means to find a place where you belong." Rylan sat beside her. "Maybe you belong here with people who care." She looked at him, her expression unreadable for a moment. "Sometimes when I am afraid, your presence is my strength." Rylan's heart quickened. The guard and the alien two worlds meeting in quiet understanding, but peace did not last. One night, while Rylan was on patrol, Solari was attacked again, this time inside her own room. He heard the struggle and rushed in. A masked figure lunged at Solari, but Rylan tackled the attacker away. In the fight, Rylan was cut on his arm, Solari cried out, but then quickly used her hands to heal the wound with a soft blue light. Rylan stared in awe. "That's Ilarian healing," she explained. Her voice steady despite the danger. Rylan felt a new closeness to her. Not only was she graceful and strong, but also capable of kindness in the darkest moments. After the fight, Solari held Ryland's hand. "Thank you for saving me." He smiled despite the pain. "I'll always protect you." Their eyes met, and, for the first time, words were not needed. The guard and the alien were no longer just protector and protected. They were two souls who had found strength in each other. The morning after the attack was quiet. The sun poured through the windows, but the air between Ryland and Solari felt heavy, as if something unsaid lingered between them. Both had seen danger, but now they faced something harder, feelings they hadn't expected. Ryland sat at the small table in the kitchen area, cleaning his wound carefully. The cut was healing fast, thanks to Solari's strange but gentle power. He still felt the sting, but more than that, he felt a new kind of closeness to the alien woman. Solari entered the room, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. Her steps were soft, almost like a whisper. She handed him a cup without a word. He took it, surprised by the warmth of the gesture. They sat quietly, sipping the tea. The silence was peaceful, but it felt like a calm before a storm. Finally, Solari spoke. "Ryland," she said softly, "can I speak with you?" He looked up, meeting her deep violet eyes. "Of course." She paused, gathering courage. "Last night, when you were hurt, I saw something in your mind." Ryland's breath caught. "You did?" She nodded. "Yes, I did not mean to see it, but the healing connects us for a moment." He remembered the strange feeling when she touched his arm, the sudden clarity, the flood of memories. It was as if she saw his past, his fears, his pain. "What did you see?" he asked quietly. "I saw your loneliness," she said. "The battles you fought, the friends you lost, the weight you carry." Ryland swallowed hard. "It's not easy to talk about." "I understand," she said. "I carry similar pain." For a moment neither spoke, then Solari's voice grew softer. "I have been alone for so long, Ryland. My people are far away, and many do not accept me. I was forced to leave my home." Ryland's eyes softened. "That sounds very hard." She looked down, then back at him. "It is. Sometimes I wonder if I will ever find a place where I belong." Ryland reached out, placing his hand over hers. "You belong here," he said firmly. "Not just in this house, but with people who care about you." Solari's eyes filled with a gentle light. "Your words, they mean more than you know." The distance between them shrank. The fear, the loneliness, and the danger all melted for a moment. That night, the house felt warmer. Solari did not return to her room, but stayed near Ryland's quarters. The hallway between them was no longer a barrier, but a bridge dotted midnight. Ryland awoke to find a soft shadow at his door. It was Solari. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. He nodded and opened the door. She stepped inside, her presence calm and fragile. "I could not sleep," she whispered. "I am afraid the danger is not over." Ryland stood and closed the door behind her. "You are safe here," he said. "I will not let anything happen to you." She smiled faintly, but then sat on the edge of his bed. "Ryland," she said softly, "thank you for being here." He sat beside her, unsure what to say. She looked at him, her eyes searching. "There is something I want to tell you," she said. Ryland waited. "I never thought I could trust a human," she confessed. "But you are different. You listen, you protect, and you understand." His heart beat faster. "I feel the same." They sat close, the quiet between them full of unspoken feelings. Finally, Solari leaned toward him. "May I stay with you tonight?" she asked. Ryland swallowed but nodded. She settled beside him, not touching but close enough that he felt her warmth. For hours they stayed awake, sharing stories, fears, and hopes. Days passed and their bond deepened. Solari grew more comfortable around Ryland. She laughed at his jokes, asked about his past, and shared memories of her distant home. Ryland found himself watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. Her graceful movements, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of peace, it all fascinated him. One afternoon, Solari caught him staring. "Do you find something interesting?" she teased. He smiled. "Just how brave you are." She looked away. "Shy, you are brave too, Ryland." Their hands brushed as they reached for the same book. The touch was electric but gentle, neither pulled away, but the world outside was still dangerous. One evening, as they prepared for the Galactic Peace Summit, new threats emerged. Messages arrived warning Scifi not to attend. The enemy was growing. Stronger and more determined, Rylan felt the weight of the responsibility heavier than ever. "We will face this together," he promised her. Scifi nodded. "I trust you with my life." Their eyes met, and for a moment the fear faded that night as they prepared for bed. Scifi surprised Rylan. She stepped into his room without hesitation and sat on the edge of his bed. "Rylan," she whispered, "may I share something with you?" He nodded, heart pounding. She reached out and took his hand. "I am afraid," she said honestly. "Afraid of losing you, of failing my mission, and of never finding peace." Rylan squeezed her hand gently. "You won't lose me," he said. "We will face this together." She looked up, hope shining in her eyes. For the first time they crossed the line between duty and something deeper. Rylan and Scifi had found a small moment of peace. Hidden away in the quiet house, they grew closer with each passing day. Yet the threat looming over them was real, and it would not wait. One cold night, just as the wind whispered through the trees outside, the calm was shattered. Rylan was in the control room, watching the security monitors carefully. Scifi was in the room next door, reading quietly. Suddenly, an alert flashed red on the screen. Motion detected near the outer gate. Rylan's heart jumped. He grabbed his weapon and rushed outside. The night was dark, but the energy shields around the property shimmered faintly, trying to hold back the unseen attackers. Figures moved fast, skilled in breaking through defenses. Rylan fired warning shots, but the attackers were prepared. One of them activated a device that scrambled the security signals, causing the shields to flicker. The gate began to open. Inside, Scifi sensed the danger. She stood up quickly, reaching for the emergency communicator. Before she could call for help, a loud crash came from the front door. The attackers were inside. Rylan fought fiercely, his training guiding him through the chaos. He moved with speed and precision, defending Scifi with everything he had. One attacker lunged at Scifi, but she ducked and pushed him away. With a quick motion, she raised her hand, and a soft blue light flashed from her palm, stunning the enemy. Rylan saw his chance. He tackled another attacker, knocking the weapon from his hands, but more were coming. The fight moved through the rooms, shouts and crashes echoing in the once peaceful home. In the heat of the battle, Rylan was pushed back and stumbled. One attacker aimed for Scifi with a sharp blade. Without hesitation, Rylan threw himself between them. Taking the blow, pain shot through his side. Scifi screamed and rushed to him. "Kneel!" she commanded, voice strong despite the fear in her eyes. Rylan knelt, gritting his teeth. She placed her hands on his wound, and a gentle blue light spread from her fingers. The pain eased, and the cut closed before his eyes. Rylan gasped. He had never seen such power. When the attackers finally retreated, the house was in silence again. Broken only by Rylan's heavy breathing, Scifi helped him to his feet. "You saved me," she said softly. "Now it is my turn to save you." Rylan looked at her, feeling a deep bond between them. "You are not alone," he said. "We will face this together." She nodded. The days after the attack were tense. The authorities arrived, but Rylan knew the danger was far from over. Scifi and he spent time planning their next steps. "We cannot stay here," she said. "The enemy will return," Rylan agreed. "We need a safer place. Somewhere no one can find us." Scifi thought for a moment. "I know a place," she said. "Far from here, in the mountains." "A cabin hidden by nature," Rylan nodded. "Then we go?" The journey was quiet. They traveled under the cover of darkness, avoiding known roads and surveillance. As they reached the mountain cabin, Scifi smiled softly. "This place is safe," she said. "No one knows of it but my closest allies." Rylan looked around. The cabin was simple but sturdy. Surrounded by tall trees and the sound of a nearby stream, they settled inside. In the peaceful mountain air, Scifi began to relax. Rylan watched her with a mixture of admiration and affection. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Scifi looked at Rylan. "You have been my strength," she said. Without you, I do not know what would have happened. Ryland smiled. I am just doing my job. She shook her head. No, it is more than that. Their eyes met, and the distance between them disappeared. Ryland reached out and took her hand. Scifi did not pull away. That night, under the quiet stars, they shared stories of their pasts, their hopes, and their fears. The danger was still there, but in this moment, it felt smaller. For the first time since they met, Ryland and Scifi allowed themselves to hope. The mountain cabin was quiet, surrounded by tall trees that whispered in the wind. For the first time in weeks, Scifi and Ryland felt a moment of calm. The danger still lurked beyond the forest, but here they could breathe. One morning, after a light breakfast, Scifi looked at Ryland with serious eyes. There is something important I must tell you, she said softly. Ryland nodded. I am listening. She took a deep breath. My mission is more than just diplomacy. I am here to secure an alliance, a union of many worlds to bring lasting peace. But there are those who do not want peace. They want control and power. Ryland's eyes narrowed. That explains the attacks. Yes, she said. If they stop me, the war will continue. Many lives will be lost. He placed a hand on hers. We will stop them, together. Scifi smiled faintly, but sadness touched her face. There is more, she said. I have a duty to my people that I cannot ignore. If I fail, the future of many rests on my shoulders. Ryland looked at her with respect. You carry a heavy burden, she nodded. And I do not want to carry it alone. Over the next few days, they planned how to protect Scifi and her mission. Ryland learned more about the political dangers she faced and the sacrifices she had made. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Scifi sat beside Ryland outside the cabin. Do you trust me? She asked quietly. Ryland looked into her eyes. More than anyone else. She reached out, holding his hand tightly. Then I have a choice to make, she said. I can continue my mission alone, or I can have you by my side. But if you choose to stay, you must be ready to leave everything behind. Your orders, your life as you know it. Ryland did not hesitate. I choose you. Her eyes widened, and a soft smile broke across her face. You are brave, she said. And kind. That night, as they sat by the fire, Scifi shared stories of her childhood on Alaris, the forest, the stars, and the songs her people sang to the night sky. Ryland listened closely, feeling honored to hear her memories. He shared his own stories, to his childhood on Earth. The wars he fought and the hope he still held for the future. In the firelight, their faces grew closer and the space between them disappeared, but the calm was fragile. The next day, Scifi's communicator beeped urgently. She answered quickly, listening with growing concern. They have discovered our location, she said, voice tense. Ryland stood beside her. We have to move. Scifi nodded. There is one last place I can go, a hidden base far beyond the mountains. It is guarded and secret, but it is risky. Ryland didn't hesitate. Let's go. They packed quickly, moving through the forest under the cover of dawn. The journey was long and difficult. They crossed rocky paths and cold streams, careful not to leave tracks. At night, they rested, sharing quiet moments and encouraging each other. Scifi looked at Ryland often, her eyes full of trust and something deeper. Ryland felt the same way. At last, they reached the hidden base, a small fortress carved into the side of a mountain. The guards recognized Scifi and allowed them inside. It was safe for now, inside the base. Scifi contacted her allies and sent a message to the Galactic Council, revealing the truth behind the attacks and the traitors trying to stop peace. Ryland watched as she stood tall, no longer just a frightened diplomat but a leader. After sending the message, Scifi turned to Ryland. Thank you, she said, for staying with me, for trusting me. Ryland smiled. I'm not going anywhere. She stepped closer and took his hand. We face an uncertain future, she said, but together we are stronger. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the promise was clear. The message Scifi sent to the Galactic Council spread quickly across the stars. It revealed the truth about the attacks on her and the traitors trying to stop peace between worlds. The news shook many, but it also brought hope. Ryland stood beside Solari in the hidden base as they waited for the council's response. The air was thick with tension, but also with a quiet strength. Suddenly the communicator beeped. Solari answered. Her eyes brightened as she listened. "They believe you," she said with relief. "The council has agreed to investigate the traitors. They want to meet with us soon," Ryland smiled. "That is good news," Solari nodded. "Yes, but the danger is not over. There will be those who try to stop us." Ryland looked at her firmly. "Then we face them together." The days passed as they prepared to leave the base and travel to the council's meeting. The hidden refuge that had kept them safe would soon be behind them. Ryland helped Solari pack her things, and she carefully folded a small token from her home planet, a leaf from the ancient Illyrian forests. "It is a symbol of hope," she told him. He nodded. "And I will carry it with me." As they boarded the small ship that would take them to the council, Ryland felt a mix of nerves and determination. Solari's hand found his, and their fingers intertwined. "You have changed my life," Solari whispered. "And you've changed mine," Ryland replied. At the Galactic Council, many leaders and diplomats gathered. Solari stood tall, no longer just a guarded alien, but a symbol of courage and peace. Ryland stood by her side, his presence steady and strong. The traitors were exposed, their plans revealed. The council agreed to support Solari's mission and strengthen the bonds between worlds. After the meeting, as the crowd dispersed, Solari and Ryland found a quiet place away from the noise. She looked at him with a smile. "You were assigned to guard me," she said softly, "but you ended up guarding my heart." Ryland laughed softly. "I never expected this." She took his hand and pulled him closer. "Neither did I," she admitted, "but I am glad. The future was still uncertain. There would be challenges and dangers ahead. But Ryland and Solari knew they could face anything together. Their bond was no longer just about protection or duty. It was about trust, respect, and a deep connection between two very different worlds. As they looked out at the stars, Solari rested her head on Ryland's shoulder. "We will make peace," she said. "Not just for our people, but for all." Ryland nodded. "Together." And so, the guard and the alien diplomat began a new chapter, standing side by side, not just as protector and charge, but as partners in a future full of hope.